She knew how it would end, before it even began. And she stayed anyway. Her name was Anne Askew, a woman in a time where silence was expected, and obedience was survival. But something inside her didn't bend, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, firm. This is where it begins. England, 1500s, a country shifting, religious tension rising. Truth wasn't just debated, it was punished, and belief could get you killed. Anne didn't seek attention. She wasn't trying to become a symbol. She simply refused to say something she didn't believe. That was enough. This is where it changes. She was arrested, questioned, pressed to confess, to name others, to submit, to agree with what those in power demanded. But she didn't. Not aggressively, not emotionally, calmly, and that made it worse. Because resistance is easier to fight when it's loud. But quiet conviction, that unsettles people. They pushed harder. She gave them nothing, not because she was strong in the way people imagine, but because she was clear. Clarity removes negotiation, and once you're clear, there's nothing left to trade. This is where most people break. Pain changes things. Pressure reshapes beliefs. Fear rewrites truth. But not always. Anne was tortured. Not metaphorically, not lightly, physically, relentlessly, and still, she didn't give them what they wanted. No names, no false confession, no collapse. Just silence and truth. This is where it gets uncomfortable, because we like to believe we would do the same, that we would stand firm. But most people don't, not because they're weak, but because the cost becomes real, immediate, personal. Anna understood that cost and accepted it before the end. That's the shift. She wasn't reacting in the moment. She had already decided. And once a decision is made at that level, circumstances lose their power. This is where everything slows down. The final day, the crowd gathered, not all of them angry, some curious, some silent, some unsure, watching a woman about to be burned alive for refusing to say something she didn't believe. The flames were prepared, the outcome certain, and still, no panic, no pleading, no last-minute reversal, just presence. This is what people remember, not the fire, but the stillness, the control, the refusal to betray herself, even at the very end. And then it was over, just like that. But something remained, because truth doesn't disappear when a person does. It lingers. It spreads, quietly, over time. This is the part most people miss. Her power wasn't in changing the system. It was in refusing to let the system change her. That's a different kind of strength. Not external, internal, unshaken. And this is where it turns back to you. Because your moments won't look like this. Not this extreme, not this visible, but they exist. Small decisions, moments where you feel the pressure to agree, to conform, to say what's expected, even when it's not true. And in those moments, you negotiate with yourself just this once, just to make things easier, and slowly, you move further away from who you are. Anne didn't negotiate, and that's why her story remains, not because of what happened to her, but because of what didn't. She didn't break. She didn't shift. She didn't trade truth for comfort. So the question becomes simple. What would it take for you to say something you don't believe? And more importantly, would you recognize the moment when it happens?